Okay, so today is the last of the series for June. So my intent today is to either be with you when you finish all of your pieces or talk you through what you need to do to finish your pieces. So I'm guessing everybody's at a different place. So that's probably going to be the challenge today. So before we get started, do we have any show and tell? Anybody want to share anything they've done this past week?
I do.
Let's see.
I finally finished the shell.
Oh,
There it
beautiful.
is.
Any more
Took
comments about the
me
upcoming
3
classes?
tries
Just quickly, then,
before I was
those
happy
of
with
you that have
Wow.
volunteered to be my guinea pigs.
You're being persistent.
Any questions about
I'm going
what
to
you need
try
for
to
that
do
lace
a
class on the
Viking
13th?
knit with
Belinda,
beads.
I haven't seen the sample
for the
of it yet. I think you
rope
talked about it in class, but I wasn't there.
So I don't know if that's going to work or not, but that's that.
I think I don't know.
Good job.
And I am still
probably
working
After
on
class, but this is
Mr. Donut.
Oh yeah, that piece. Yeah. No, I know.
But I almost have
I
him.
want to try.
And that's an inch and a half.
this piece.
This is
The lace part
I'm
of
still
it.
trying to
It's
put
an
that
inch and a
top
half
piece around
widest
the
part
cord
from-
and get it
From here to
secured.
here.
All right.
It's inch and
So
3/4
that's where
from
I
here.
am.
But
And I did not do the
when,
beading. So
Marilyn and I were discussing it because
I'll work on my
the
macrame
background
while
for those
we're
of you that are
doing.
saying, well, why is she
Okay.
asking? Jane was
Anybody
having
else?
trouble printing
I
out
did,
that JPEG in the right size. And so I contacted
Wow.
Marilyn, and Marilyn sent me a PDF that I will send all of you
Wow.
after this call in case you also
fun.
have problems.
Really
It's not
nice. That's
crucial that it's exactly right on, because
you.
if it's a
Marsha,
little bit
can you put it up
smaller
a little
with the
closer
wire,
to
when
your
you get
camera?
done with the lace, you just give it a little
Up,
tug
up,
and get
go
it
up,
into your
up,
the shape
higher.
you want.
There
If
you
it's
Oh
too
my
big,
God.
then you just will have a little bigger
I
pin.
like the
So
scrolly
those are
things
the-
you got going at the
when
top.
I
That's really
do
nice.
it with my students, that's the
Mhm.
dimension of this
Cool.
pattern, this
Really
printing.
pretty.
So
Like the design a
as long
lot.
as you're close, we're
It was a
good.
little challenging because the shell alternative
Belinda, I have a question about the paper clips and the background.
ill-formed, or
I
not
have
ill-formed. It's not a
One of these
symmetrical.
macrame boards
So it
is
was
very
more of a
stiff
challenge
and
trying
holds
to make
pins
it so
well.
it would look even.
And I also have
But
these
you did a really nice job doing that. You
T-pins
accomplished it well.
that I
Thank
use
you.
for
I think
various
the
things.
project that I'd like to
Yeah,
do
the
today is
T-pin-
do another shell, but I forgot how much.
The T-pin
how
are
to
really,
do the
when we
measurements,
work
so
this, and when
I
I
need that
work
for
it with lace
Okay,
makers, the outside pins, I have them
Anybody
use
have
a
anything
bigger,
else they want to
heavier
share?
pin.
Yes,
Um,
I'm
because they're
almost
not
finished with
used
the
to
pin
doing the
weaving.
weaving that you girls
Let's
are
see,
used
let's
to doing,
see.
so that gives them a bigger hole
Well,
to weave into.
For
So
some
your
reason, I
T-pins would be
can't
really good
see
for that.
myself.
Every place there's a dot
Go
on
turn,
your
do
prickings,
that
you're
to your
going to be
left.
sticking a
Yeah.
pin.
Look to your
And
left.
if you
To your
put
left.
T-pins
To your left.
inside on all those dots,
Oh,
you
that's
won't be
really
able to
pretty.
see
More,
what
more,
you're
a
doing.
little bit more.
So
More.
you would be better
There
if
we
you
go.
had just regular,
Nice.
you know,
Wow.
sewing
Oh, wow.
you
Look
know,
at that.
you
Oh,
ever
that was
hinge
the mountain
something
or
and
the
that's
islands.
Straight
Yeah.
pins?
Oh, that's
Straight
cool.
pin. Yeah,
Lani
just a
Kai,
straight
this
pin.
is a view at
Where do the
Lani Kai
paper
Beach
clips
in
come in?
Honolulu,
The
around
paper
Honolulu
clip,
area.
when I
Mhm.
make
The
this,
mountains
I
didn't
actually
turn
cleaned
out
up this area.
quite
So of
the
course
way
don't
I
have one
wanted
show you,
them
I don't think.
to.
Oh, I do.
But
When I make
I
this as
learned
a
a
lace
lot doing
maker,
this because I
I
was
use
pulling the
what's
wefts
called
too
a
tight.
lace bobbin, wire
And then I
bobbin,
read something
to help
online
to
where you
control
make
the
an
ends
arc.
of my wire. I
Yeah.
know
And
you
weave
don't
it
have
across,
these, and these
and
are
then you push it
relatively
down.
expensive,
And
but certainly
I
for
was telling
one-time use.
Diane,
We
I
can
have this
control the ends of
elephant
the wire
effect
by
where I think it's
wrapping it
gotta
around a paper clip,
withstand the
and I'll
weight of
instruct
an
you how to
elephant,
do
so
that.
I pull
So
too
it's to
tight.
help you. The first wire lace book that
And
came
that
out
does really
probably, I don't
bad
know, 30
things to
years ago,
wire and
nobody was
thread and
making these. So
crochet
the
and
woman who
knit
wrote the
and
book
oh
didn't
my
have these,
gosh.
and she didn't make
Anyway,
paper clips, and
So
I
she
had
just
to
says,
get
well,
rid of that elephant
work them
effect.
without
Really
anything on them. And
how
you
did you
have,
keep it
in
there
your case,
from,
you're going to have 20
pulling too
pieces of
tight? What
wire
did you do?
sticking out there.
Hey,
So
when
I
you put
did that with the
when you
first
weave
piece I made.
across your
And I
warps,
kid you not, I almost
you
put
do
my
it in like
eye out
a
if
curve
anybody
or an
walked
arc,
past me, because I
and
had
then you
these
don't
20,
pull it tight across. You
you know,
just push
spider
it
legs
down with your
sticking out
fork
in the way.
and
So
compact it,
I
and that
immediately
keeps
bought
it
the
loose.
bobbins when
But
I
you know,
could
I
find
always
them.
want to pull it
When I
tight.
started to
Yeah,
contemplate
Pulls
teaching
everything
this for
together.
lace makers and saying, well,
Oh,
you're not
that's
gonna wanna go
gorgeous.
out and
Yeah.
spend
Anyway, this was
$50 on
too
something you
ambitious.
may
I
never
think the
use
next
again.
time I'm just
What
going
could
to
we
do
use to
some,
control them? And I
you
just came
know,
up with the idea, we'll just use
horizontal
paper clips
waves and
and
push stuff
they work
around,
fine.
you know,
They
some
work. I
rolling
do
hills
the paper
together. This was
clips
like
on
way,
some of
way
mine when
too
I'm
intricate.
in the middle of
What
another
is your
project, I don't
hanger?
wanna take it off the piece.
Oh,
So that's what
and
the
then
paper
I
clips are
had
for, is
to,
to
I
help
have a
you
piece
change
of
the size.
driftwood and
Very good.
I actually
I
have
gotta
a
go buy
collection of
some.
driftwood.
So, well, wait a minute,
So
Pat,
I
do you
slipped
have,
through for the right length and the right
20
shape,
of the
and then I sprayed it
bobbins,
and
like when
sealed
you're
it
doing
with
the Kumi
acrylic
Homo?
spray, but then
Oh,
I had to
yeah.
drill holes in the
Let's use
top.
those.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
You are
Yeah.
ambitious.
Because all,
Wow,
like I
yeah.
said, all you're doing, the
I
problem
didn't
you may
injure
have
anything, so that was
is
good.
that you'll have, you know, you're gonna have 20 of these. So 20 wires,
Really
so you'll
nice,
have 20
Claudia.
of
Yeah,
those
I
hanging
still
off,
have to
and they
decide how to hang
may
it,
get in your way. But
but we'll
It's
see.
really
not-
bulky.
Yeah.
really
It's
nice.
not
Thank
that big
Beautiful.
a piece.
So are you
So it
addicted to
should
it
be
now? Too much grief
Yes,
for you?
I have to try it a few
So
more times.
When we get ready
But
to
having
cut the
said
wire to
that,
put
I
on the
think I'm going to
bobbins,
make them a
I'm
little
gonna
bit
tell you to
bigger
cut
and
yours
make them more
longer
of like
because that'll keep the
ornaments
bobbins further
rather
away
than
from you
a
than you need
necklace,
to if you're doing it on a
and
paper
give
clip.
them away like that.
Okay.
Because this was kind of tiny.
Any other
Right,
questions?
right.
It took me 3
Did we cut
days
the
of
wires
weaving to do
beforehand?
this.
Yeah.
No, don't cut them.
Yeah, it's not a quick
But what you
project,
can do
you know, it
beforehand
really,
is when you get your,
and of course,
I
you're like
intend
I
to
am
say
with
this,
the,
so I'll say it
the
again when
elephant
I teach
effect.
the class.
So
In lace
you
making,
probably
we use a
have more
different
weaving than would
vocabulary.
be necessary.
So I
You
think
know,
this is
that
where I sort
when
of
I'm
confuse
pushing it down
Marilyn
with the
when I
fork,
tried to
I'm
teach her.
thinking, do I
just
really have to compact it this much?
lace
You
making
know,
vocabulary. So
I don't
your
know.
pattern
I
in
don't know.
lace making,
So,
we
but
call
it's
this
beautiful.
the
You
pricking.
did it, and I
So
love.
if you hear me
Like you
say
said, it was really an
pricking,
ambitious
don't
project when you
be
showed it to us
confused. And
last
at
week.
any
I thought,
point, if I use
for
some
this
word that you're
one,
saying, what
but
the
you did a
heck is she
stellar
talking about?
job.
Yeah.
I'll say,
Thank
what
you.
the
You
heck
should
are
have said
talking about? Because
something.
I've just been making lace so long. To me, it just is
Far
the
be
way I
it from
talk
me
about
to
it.
squelch
But what could be
creativity.
helpful
you
to you
know?
before class is every place there's
So
a dot
anybody else
in your
have
pattern on
anything
your
they want to
pricking
share?
is to stick a pin through it so
We're-
you already have the
I'm
holes
sorry I
pricked.
was late. I
Because
could
if you've
not
got it on
find the right
a
link
heavier
to find.
cardstock
I
or
had so many
something
different
underneath it,
jewelry links
you don't want to
and
have to
finally
keep
found it.
working it
So I did
during
this
class, you know, to
using
get
a
through there.
chaos
It's not
thingy.
going to be particularly
So,
easy
and I
to
made
get
it
through.
intentionally
I've got mine.
asymmetrical, but I can't
What I did
decide
with
if
mine
it
is
looks
I
like a
printed it
mistake
out on
or
this
it
piece
looks good.
on
Is it a
blue
mistake or does
regular
it look good?
cardstock, and then
Here.
I
Do you
just
like
put
it?
a
That's
little
the
bit of
question.
index card
Like
behind
it,
it
but I
to
like
give myself
things that aren't
some
very nice.
stability.
I
When
don't
you,
wanna, like,
the
wear
reason you're
something that
doing
looks
this
doofusy.
is we're
My
going back
goal
to
was
Claudia
to have
Kay's
strung this
elephant technique,
beautiful
and she's
fire lamp
going to have to
bead
work
that I
on this
have on the cord. It
moderated.
wouldn't fit on
When
the
you
cord.
tension
By the way, I
it, you're
have a
going to
lot of
tension
these
against the pin, so
pre-done
you're going to
cords with
pull a little
clasps
bit,
on if anybody
and if you pull
wants any.
too hard,
Um,
the pin
so
bends
I don't know.
and gets,
Does it
it
look
gets all distorted. So when you put it on a
mistake?
piece of cardboard or
can't
an
see it on your
index
neck.
card underneath it, or a
Too low.
piece of cereal box or something, then you have more stability for the pin to hold in there.
Okay,
when you're
so
tensioning.
Yasmin, it,
So
Yeah.
that's the
will it
purpose of the-
actually
what you're
hang that
using to
way?
back it.
I've
Or
been wearing it and it
So
hangs
maybe we
that
should
way.
take
Okay.
the pad, the pricking and spray mount it onto the
but
cardboard.
I'm not getting
could.
arousing
You
keep
could,
it that way,
or, you know,
Yasmin, so I'm beginning to think it
when
looks
I
like it
sell
might
my
be a
kits,
mistake.
I
It
do
looks
that,
like a
and I
mistake.
actually, it's
It
a
looks
really nice
incomplete.
pricking.
Is
I
that what this
send
is kind of
them
looking
in the
incomplete?
kit.
So, okay,
When
you know
I'm
what
making
I
them
would
myself,
do
I'm
if you
just
want to
pretty
keep that
lazy. So
asymmetrical
I just
kind of
pin it
feel
down. I just
Mhm.
put my
on the shorter
my
side.
cardstock or
I
my
would
index card, and then
add
I put the
something
whatever I
like
printed
Yeah,
out of my
that-
computer
like
or
three
Xeroxed out
beads
of the
or
book,
something,
and
Yeah.
something that
put
is
pins
just
in all four
Mm.
places.
that
and
goes
holds it
along with
down.
the
So if
dangly
you,
thing.
if
Yeah.
you're a better
And
person than
Okay.
I am,
That's
yeah,
good. Good feedback.
mount it and
Really
Takes a
make it
village.
pretty. Suggestion, Claudia.
Takes a village to
What
make
do you
this
use to
jewelry.
make the holes? Do you use a stiletto?
Sometimes.
We have what's
No,
known as a pricker, but
Nice
sometimes I
work,
can't find my
Yasmin.
pricker, so I just
I love
use the
that
pin
chaos
that I'm
thing.
gonna.
Oh,
Yeah,
that-
me
Probably
too.
I love the
You don't want
chaos
to
thing,
bend
yeah.
your pin.
Me
And
too.
depending on how
Good.
thick that is,
Good.
I would
Like
do
the new
something
projects
like
that
the
you sent out,
T-pin
those are
that
look
Pat
great.
was showing us.
Yeah,
a
let's
little
talk
heavier
about those
pin.
for a second,
So
and then
I have
let's
a,
talk
when I
just
used
a
to
little bit
teach
about the
eighth
wireless.
grade, if everybody
Was the days we
can
had
bear
to
with
do.
me for a minute.
So the
bulletin boards,
upcoming
so I don't even
class,
know if
we
I
have
one,
about
but
5 brand new people,
here,
and I've
excuse
sent
me.
out the
I have
information.
pretty thick
They might
pins
either
that we used in bulletin
emailed
boards.
personally or
And
talked
I-
to
So
that
should the
phone
holes
personally,
be
so they're
bigger
on
or
board.
is
Do any of
smaller
you have
better?
questions for any of the upcoming
A little
projects?
bigger is better. If you have to go
Good.
with bigger. I mean, if you have to
Okay,
make a choice, because
No, I think it's a
smaller, then
wonderful
you're gonna have to
project.
work
I
it
love
when you get
those,
your
all
pen
those
stuck down in
projects.
there.
Yeah.
I think
And they
it's
look
easier
real-
than this semester. This semester is
I
very
have done
complicated
these
to me,
pieces
like
of
the
lace, not in the
waving.
wire, but in regular
I ends up like all
fibers.
a
And
mess.
I will,
I
many
think it's
times,
too
not prick
advanced.
the holes beforehand.
Well,
I just use the
don't
pin
feel
and
bad,
stick
Joni.
the
When I
hole
sent
to
out
work down there. But with
the
wire,
email to
you need a
everybody for
heavy,
the
sort of a
upcoming
heavier
projects,
backing,
immediately
and
I
it's
got an
harder to
email
do
back
this.
from somebody who
So,
dropped the
and I've even
class.
used, like, I've got this,
She
you know, a
said,
couple of
those
these
are
that
too hard
say
for
Project
me
along
is
the way, they're
simple.
like hat pins.
stringing. So, and I
I'll
didn't
just use
have the
those,
nerve
whatever
to
you
tell her,
need
I
to
don't
get
do
through
stringing.
through the hole.
So
So
I thought, okay, I hope I don't
that's your
scare away all my
preparation.
students.
Any
So,
No, you didn't scare
other
us away, that's
questions?
for
Could
sure.
you use
So,
corrugated
we'll be
cardboard
there.
or would that? be
Thank
too
you
thin?
for hanging in there with
Corrugated
me,
cardboard.
Joni, even though it
Might
was a
be harder
challenge
to
in
work
June.
on, but
So
I haven't tried it.
love to have to try it if you
Tell me,
haven't.
what's the difference between
Any
Fireline
other
and Wildfire?
questions?
So, yeah, I do.
They're
So
basically
when
the
you get
same thing.
the pattern,
Fireline is usually what you get
push
when
the
you
holes in
order
it or, and then
online.
laminate it to
Wildfire
a
is
harder,
what
and
Joanne's
so
and
you're gonna
Michael's
put
work
that
on.
piece on
And
so it's the same thing,
big
just a
board.
different name?
Yeah.
And
one-
my instincts
Okay.
are they're made
Yeah,
by the
put
same
that
people.
down.
Okay.
And
And-
your
and
fire
we're
line,
gonna
and
put right
Pat,
on
chime
your
in here
stick
if I'm
things
wrong,
all in your
but for a while you
your
could get the
styrofoam or
6-pound
your
at
macrame
Walmart
board or
in
whatever
the
you're
sporting
using.
goods section
All right.
because it's just
Your boogie board.
fishing line basically.
Any
It's a
other
monofilament
questions?
line. And it
Okay,
was like a fraction
let's get
of
down
what
to
you were
today's
paying for it
project.
So I'm
online
gonna
or,
switch
when
over
it's
my
associated
camera.
with jewelry.
Hopefully
So,
it's working today.
yeah,
Yay for your
Where do you
camera.
buy yours? So what
best
I'm
deal
gonna be
in town.
working on is Well, finishing
my
this.
husband
And
works
let
in
me
a
just
fishing
walk you
store.
through the last
There you
few
go.
steps. And like I said,
There's the
what
best.
they
don't
the questions that you have and where you are on different projects, we can take it from there. So
But it
here's
is
my
fishing
reasoning and what I think
you can go out
mostly
on
will probably have
Amazon
questions with is
and pick up Fireline
on
for
mine,
way less again
I work on the
than you
black,
do
and I've still got to do
at the jewelry
this much weaving,
store
but I had to give
outlets
up
or
last night
Michael's
because
or
I couldn't see
Joann's.
that black.
I
So
buy
what
them
I still
in-
have left to do
Since I do
is
so
that
much, I buy
weaving,
them in
which I'll probably
300
do
yard
later today.
spools.
I
Wow.
wanted to
and
put
they
something in here,
Run about
and I wasn't sure
$40
what.
for that.
so
But then
I'm
I've got a
toying
year's
with
supply
putting
for
beads
$40.
just to
But then I
Ooh,
do
those are
bead
cool.
weaving
I like that
constantly,
color.
so that's not
Let's in there.
an option
But
for
then
most
they're
of you.
not really the
But
same
really,
color as this, and because I used a
Fireline
black
is
warp,
very, very good,
this muted
and
a little
you can
more
get
than
it
I
lots
wanted.
of places
So
other than the bead
I'm
store.
now
So
toying
look
with
around out
adding
online.
back
and
in one of
shop
these original
pricing.
colors just for a
I
little
know that
contrast.
Fusion
Oh,
Beads
that's
is
in
going
there.
out and they're making a big thing
So,
about, you know, they're
I
the
thought,
last
okay,
of the store, 50%
now I have
off
to
and all
worry
this
about
stuff.
what to hang it
But
on.
all the
So
main
that's
items
where I
like
thought some of you
Fireline,
would be,
Wildfire, and
and
all of
worrying
that
about
are
how
all
to
gone.
finish
They're,
these
if you
ends, because
click
they're not
on,
going
they're
to hang
out
down
of
there
stock.
and just look like a mess. So
And
that,
when you
what
tie
to
your
hang it
knots,
on, she did
Where's Fusion
on
Bead
this
at? Or
picture
this one on Redondo?
that I
No.
kind of like, because
No,
my
online.
other pieces
Not
that I've
online.
made, I'm not real
Online,
happy with the
okay.
way I'm hanging it.
Pat,
So I
when
kind
you
of
tie
like
your
what
knots,
she
how
did
do you
here.
make them
She hung
secure? Do you
in
use a
her
zapper?
cords,
or-
and she just used a lark's head knot to hang those
Basically,
on
I
the
don't
warp
tie
thread.
many knots.
And then she just
I
wrapped
weave
some,
back through
I
my
can't
work,
tell from the
just like
picture
you do
whether
with
that's
knitting
a
or
metallic
crocheting.
thread
Knots
or
are
wire.
vulnerable.
So this
So
morning
if
when
I'm
I was
doing
looking at it
peyote
and saying,
stitch
okay,
or brick stitch or
what
any
am
of
I going to
those,
do to finish
where I
it? I
can
thought,
get
well, if
back
I
through the
use
bead,
these
I
colors,
weave back
I can
down a
use my
couple of
copper
rows or
wire.
over
So I went ahead wherever I
just
can
hung these in
manage
to
to
show
put my
you
thread.
where I'm
And
going with
I
mine.
weave
And I
a
know each
few-
of you is doing
I-
something differently.
I
and
do a few
I
lines,
really love
and then I
the
kind of
driftwood
tug
that
on
you
my
use,
project,
Claudia.
and if nothing
So on
moves,
mine, what
I'm
I did,
secure.
and I did it because I wanted to
Do
be
you
able to
like a
get in
zapper
there
though?
to
Is
show
that
you.
good?
Oh,
But you
yeah.
can do this
No, the
after the
zapper's
fact.
really
If
good
you've already
because then you
woven
can
all
get
of
in
it,
close.
you can
You know,
hang
after I'm
these in there.
done with
But
my
I just
weaving,
took a cord
I pull the thread
and
taut
cut it, and I'm
and I
not sure how
use the
long I want
zapper
it
to
to
cut
be.
it off
So
wherever
I
I've
really cut it
finished my
long.
weaving.
I was trying to guess where did I think hers fit on her, and I'm thinking it's like maybe 4 inches from her collarbone, but I can't really tell. So I thought, well, I'd rather have too much than too little. So I just cut about 20 inches, I think, or longer, maybe 30 inches. And I just stuck in here lark's head knots. So I'm going to have 10 on each side. And that leaves me with, I think, 1 hole in the middle that won't have anything. And then I'll have 10 on the other. And then I'm just going to coil probably a 20 or 22 gauge wire, like right about here. Whoops, I can get my hands on it. So that's how I'm going to end this one. And then what I'm going to do here, I'm not too sure. So she did, on one side, she braided it. One side, she just left it straight. I might do some macrame. I'm not sure. I tried to do macrame on this one, and I just don't like this at all. So, and that's just that knot that we did way back when. So I'm not extremely happy with how I ended any of these. So I've got this one I'm going to work on. This one I just put a piece of heavy gauge wire and hammered it, drilled holes, stuck a wrap on it, and it's going to be redone. This one I do like, but I'm not sure how I'm going to hang it. So maybe a chain that I'll make similar to the chain that I have on. Let me see if I can get it off so you can see this. This is an easy chain. I can't remember if we've done this chain in class, but this is just wrap loops.
I think
And
we did.
that may be the
That looks good with that.
Yeah, that looks really nice.
that may be the one. So this piece that I just took off is my wire lace with acrylic flowers that I dyed with alcohol ink.
Cool.
And I'm letting it oxidize on its own. And look at what's going on here. There's a particular, can you see?
Yeah.
It's got a really strange look. So I'm curious to see whether, I've got a dilemma with that, because if something happens to that that's nice, then it's living there. If I don't like it in a couple of weeks, then I've got to decide whether I can live with it or whether I've got to take the whole patina off and start over, because I can't just take that one part off or it'll be too copper. So, but I'm liking the way the natural patina is evolving on this. And this is just from setting, this was bright copper, and this is just from setting out on my bureau in my bedroom for about, I don't know, 3 months or something. It's just the ocean air that we have here that's causing it to come up with a really nice color. So
Linda, how would you get the patina off if you wanted to?
if you put it in vinegar, first of all, if you put it, you can use ketchup to remove it. You need the acidicness from the vinegar, and that's what's in ketchup. So you can do that. You could just soak it in vinegar. So, and then put it in a little baking soda and water bath to stop any corrosion from going on it. So I have a project I want us to do at some point. It's a wrapped coin. And when I was in, I think when I was in Scotland a couple of years ago, in an antique store, I bought all these really wonderful coins that have Victoria on them and King Edward, and for, you know, just like, I don't know, $2 a piece or something. But they're copper, but they've, over the 100 years, really tarnished. So I put a couple of them in just a little dish with vinegar, and they were almost too clean at that point. So now I've got them setting back out, trying to get a little more color to them because they look like they were something that was just manufactured when it took it all off. But the vinegar will do a really good job.
Is there a way to stop? Like, let's say you get to a certain color of patina and like, that's it, that's what I want. Is there a way to stop it from going further?
Mix a little baking soda and water and that neutralizes it.
Okay.
So whenever, even if you're doing liver of sulfur, if you don't, when you do your liver of sulfur, after you get it where you want it, put it in a baking soda bath. So that basic bath chemically will stop the acid in your liver of sulfur or in your vinegar, and it will hold it wherever it is right at that point. So then, you know, and then wash it off with a little dishwashing detergent to get rid of all of it so you don't have any residue. That's probably, to be honest with you, that little line that's forming, there's probably something there that I didn't wash off well enough at some point, and that's what's causing that to change at a different rate, a different color. So this was another way to end it. And then this one, and I do like this. I just think I used too wimpy a wire. So it just doesn't speak to me. So I'm gonna pull this wire out, and I think I've got, from feeling it, it feels like a 22 gauge. And I think if I put an 18 or a 16 in there, I'll like it much better. So that's another way to end it. Claudia's driftwood is nice, really nice. I've seen people just put a string through it and then tie a knot and tie something coming off the end. So all of those are good techniques. Now, does anybody have questions on the ending? Anything I can help you with or you need me for? Okay. The other thing that I know a couple of you asked me questions about, and I said, well, how do you do it? Then it dawned on me that maybe you wouldn't know from me just telling you, is when you get these little guys hanging out here, these ends, how are you gonna finish them? If you don't do something with them, and you just cut it off, they'll unravel. So what you're going to do, not unlike when Pat was saying how she ends her fire line, I was thinking, well, you do that here. So I put this on a needle that's got a little bit of a point so that I can weave it in there. And I'm going to come up right next to, so this is my warp thread right here. And then I'm going to just come around. I'm going to wait and do this after I get it off my pillow or off what I've got it secured to, so that I can get in there better. But theoretically, I'm just going to weave it up the warp. So because he's pinned down so nice and tight, I can't really get him in there. But can you see where I got that needle going up there? He's just going to come right up the warp, right next to where I did the over-under structure, in my case in gray. And I'll pull him up maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 rows, 5 rows, and then just trim him off really closely. And I'll do that with each of these. Now this guy, when I started, he's where I started, and I just pulled him aside and put a knot in him and held him out of the way. So he's coming under. So I'm going to make sure that I come over and go up close instead of going on the outside of the warp. I'm going to come in between this warp and that warp so that I cover the warp I went under. And then I'm going to do that for all of these. So I'm going to do the same thing here. And this guy is just laying in the right shed. So he'll just come right down here, 4 or 5 rows, or until I can't get the needle in anymore, cut it off. Same thing here. Bring him over and bring him up. Now, if you did really tight weaving, so like this guy, theoretically, should come over and go up the green. But if he's not going to work up the green, I'll bring him back down under the gray if he looks better.
because I do have a really tight weave and you won't see the green under the gray. But if you didn't weave really tightly and you do that, you might see that green. So try to get it under the color that it is. And then once you've decided how to do your cord, you finished your ends, decide how long your fringe is going to be, trim it so it's nice. And you have options for trimming your fringe. You know, you could do the fringe in just straight across. You could do an angle. You could do an angle this way. Whatever you like your fringe to look like. So do we have questions on the finishing of this guy? No? Why am I worried?
Because we always have
Just
questions.
that good at explaining things.
Yes. Oh, I know. I'm just getting so good at explaining that you never will have a question.
You don't have to.
The question that's probably is are you going to finish it? That's the question. So that should finish this project. Do we have questions on other projects that we need to address? So somebody had said you still were working on, or should I just be quiet and let you work?
I actually have one thing, but if someone else wants to go now, I'm kind of in the midst of tying something off, so.
I have one question on the new projects, the bracelet with the links. Do you think it's better to buy the links, or I'm not that good with metal. Do I need a special mandrel, or?
No, you just need one that's the size that you're going to do it. But this particular one that I did, that I was showing you, you notice it's got, these are purchased. It's got twisted, and I just like the different textures. So I just purchased them. And the difference, as far as I'm concerned, when you cut, you know, when we make a jump ring, normally, we wrap it around our mandrel. And on these two sizes, I would probably use my 6-step bail making pliers because I can, and they're the right size. So I'd probably make it, you know, the big one on one of the bigger ones and then the smaller on a smaller one and come up with the 2 different sizes. But when you wrap it, you coil it and you cut it, you have to be very, very careful with jump rings that you cut it close enough and smooth enough that they actually close. So when you're buying, if you do this a lot, you would take it and with your jeweler's saw, you would saw through that coil and you would have a nice smooth cut. When you buy them, you're going to get a nice smooth cut because they're machined. So it's easier to buy them. Not that you can't make them. And I will, you know, if I'm in a pinch and I'm going to do something, you know, I need a jump ring to attach something, instead of going up and rummaging through the right size jump rings that I purchased, I'll just whip out my mandrel and make one. But if I'm going to do a lot of chainmail, I usually purchase them. Just to make my life easier, and they close nicer. So, but if you want to, I'll show you how to do it, and maybe, you know, you won't have the same issues I had. And I have a jeweler's saw, and I've done some work with it, but I kid you not, I don't know where my day goes. I don't have time to explore on other techniques. So I keep thinking one of the things on my bucket list is to master my jeweler's saw and make my own jump rings that way.
Belinda, these twisted ones look really nice. Do you remember where you got them?
Fire Mountain.
Okay.
What size are those?
Whatever size I sent you on the syllabus.
Oh, are the large ones with 8 millimeter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are the, and in fact, that I just made, when I sent you prepared the syllabus, I just measured what I had here. And it doesn't matter that they're the same size that I have. What's key here is that you need 2 sizes. So you need the larger size, so that these could be bigger. And then you need the smaller one that goes in here. And of course, the trick is with this is if you have too small, it won't go around all those pieces, because I don't know if you can see it on here, but it's going actually capturing 3 thicknesses of your big one. So if it can't capture the 3 thicknesses, if it's not that big, then you won't be able, or it's actually capturing 2 and it's sitting inside.
So to be on the safe side, get what you specified in the syllabus. So
Pardon me?
So just to be safe, just make
Get what's on the
syllabus.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to figure out if the 2 that I bought, they would go through 3. I didn't think about that. So
And you know, depending on why I'm hedging here is depending on where you buy your jump rings, who manufactures them, they all have a slightly different measurement. So close is good. Don't stress that it's not exact. Because if you go to Michael's and Joann's and buy them, it's different than if you order them from Fire Mountain. And then there's a place called Kamal's up in Anaheim, and they have a really good price. When we ever get liberated, we'll take a field trip and go up there. The problem with the guy is he weighs things, and he weighs his thumb if you're not careful. So you have to watch him when he weighs it, you know, because he charges you by the ounce plus whatever his thumb weighs on that scale. So it's just kind of a heads up. Any other questions?
One other question. You had a hammer and I think mallet on your list, and I looked at Fire Mountain and they didn't have any. They were all out. Do I need that?
I got one at Michael's a while back.
Yeah, or Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight's good and cheap.
So just a regular hammer you can get?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And remember, if it's a metal hammer, then it will flatten your wire. So if your purpose is to flatten and get texture, then metal is what you want. If your purpose is just to work harden it. So for instance, if I were working with the twisted wire, I would never use a metal hammer with that because it'll flatten out that twist. So that's where I would use my rubber mallet. And my rubber mallet, I actually have 2 now, of course. The first one I bought at Harbor Freight, and I think it was $1.98. And the other one, I can't remember where I bought it, but it's a 2-sided thing. It's a little orange thing. And I'm wanting to say Harbor Freight. On one side is kind of a plastic, which works like the rubber mallet, and the other side is brass, which is what you use when you're hitting metal. So if you're striking a die or something, you want to use the brass. So, and I think I paid, $3 for it.
Okay.
For this
and what you hit on, can that be wood or?
Wood, could be wood, but usually we use a jeweler's block. There is a time you want to use wood for like forming, but you use a metal block, and you should be able to get that metal block. And here, ladies, you're going to help me because I'm drawing a blank. I got mine, actually I have 3 now, I think, but I got one at Michael's. And do you remember when I got it and I was telling you they didn't call it a bench block? They called it they called it something strange. But it's, if you're in Michael's and you look down on the bottom shelf, down below the stuff that's hanging, it's in a box. They called it a dapping block.
Yeah,
okay.
that was it, dapping.
Yeah.
And, it is up there. Just takes a while for me to retrieve this at times for the brain to work. But mine's, what about, 3.5 inches square. And it's relatively inexpensive if you have a coupon. Now, if we were all together, Marcia sells these beautiful ones that have a little rubber base to them. And her price has probably gone up, but I think it was $14 or $15. And I love that I bought from Marcia. It's about 6-inch circle, 4-inch circle with a little rubber base. So any kind of a piece of hard metal
Marcia, do you still have any of them? And could you arrange a safe pickup if somebody wanted one?
Yes, I could.
Okay. Yeah. And how much are they now?
I don't remember. I think it's 15 or 16, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, that's a nice, because it's a nice size.
Oh,
I have one too. It's a good size.
It's perfect, and it has a nice rubber base underneath it. So when you hammer and you're with a group of people, you're not driving them insane. It lowers the noise a little bit. So it's really good. And then Claudia's had a nice one. I think she probably got from Michael's or Joanne's. And her husband made her a beautiful wooden base, and I was lusting after it, and I made my husband use one for me. So it, you know, it never ends. It never ends.
So here is the base that my husband made for me that he put. Those are just, you know, the felt tip thingies you put on the bottom of chair legs.
Yeah.
And then this is that fake wood. It's not real wood. And so he dug out the center of it. And this is, what is the thickness of this wood? It's about an inch thick.
I admire your husband.
Oh yeah, me too.
Hey, does Hyde want to have a little side hustle there? And make up
Yeah, really.
Tell Hyde we've got something lined up for him. I'm serious. I mean, that looks so great. And you have to have special tools to router that thing out. So yeah. Side hustle there.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Any other questions or comments?
This is what the block looks like.
I might call you. I think I still have your phone number.
Okay.
From when you called me with instead of Pat, I think I have it.
Oh, okay. Well, it's 612-310-4815 for any.
Uh-oh, I didn't get that. 612.
4815.
Marcia's bench block is wonderful. That rubber thing on the bottom has saved my wooden floors.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
I do have a question about the bracelet. Are those closed soldered jump rings that you?
No. Good. Let's see. No, mine are open, but the big ones you could use soldered. You could use soldered. The big ones. The little ones you have to, are is what you use to connect.
Or the ones, oh, okay, the only ones that you really need to open.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I used somebody, one of our new students, when I, did the YouTube link, she said, I don't think she's done much at all in terms of jewelry. So she said to me, well, what did you use to close it? And I just used a purchased finding, but you know how to make these now, and you could make it. But if you have one that I can't even remember, I can't even tell you when I made this bracelet. It's probably one of the first pieces of jewelry I made when I was taking classes. But I wear this bracelet all the time and get compliments on it because it just hangs nice. And I thought, we haven't done any chainmail. Let's do a little chainmail and see if I can frustrate you on another level.
I think this one, I'm starting to like this because I can open jump rings and close them. Pretty good.
Yeah, that's
the rest of it,
I stay up nights saying, what can I do to cause them to curse at me when they're working? What project can we do to stretch them?
Well, I'm at Fire Mountain right now looking at their jump rings, and oh my gosh, you have such a variety to choose from, even colors. What do you think of that anodized aluminum?
Now, I don't want to be catty or anything, but I get the Fire Mountain catalog, and they have their employees model the jewelry. I'm sorry, but that's some of the most ugly looking jewelry I've ever seen. Honestly, it's just weird stuff. I maybe I'm just wrong.
We're spoiled. We're spoiled.
Yeah, but some of that stuff I'm thinking, what? Why? You know?
Yeah. Well, Jane, I have the same feeling, you know, they run a contest all the time. And when I see the winners, okay.
Yeah, okay.
You gotta enter that contest, Belinda. Show them how it's done.
And some of them are so big that I'm surprised you can stand, you know, you can stand upright with this huge piece of jewelry on, you know?
They're runway pieces, you know?
Ah, okay, that's right, yeah.
That's one of the ladies that makes the wire lace, I took a class from her. She makes these beautiful pieces that she sells for $60,000. I mean, she lives half the year in London and half the year in the United States, and the half she's here, she goes to these high-end craft shows in Miami. And she says people, they don't bat an eyelash when they buy these pieces. And they're, from a technical point of view, they're just beautiful. But nobody I know would wear those because they're like the ones you're talking about. They're true runway pieces, you know? I would stand out walking into Denny's with one of them. You know?
Oh, wow, look at that.
You mean sitting out in the parking lot?
If I went, you know, if I were doing the Runway Academy Awards or something, then you'd wear pieces like that, but not my life, you know.
My sister-in-law had a client in Texas, and she was a big part of the symphony and choral groups and what have you. And so she would commission huge breastplate-like necklaces, but she would, again, it's not a runway, but she was on these gala events all the time, and huge, great big metal pieces with stones and etc. So there are people who wear them.
Yeah, not in my circle, but there are people, you know. Every now and then I get tempted to make, you know, a big piece because I think, you know, that would just be something. But then I think, would I actually have the guts to wear it? You know, that I like people admiring my jewelry, but I don't want when I walk away from people to go, oh, that's pretty ugly.
Yeah, you've never worn anything like that. Of course, walking around your house now, it's not a big deal. I told myself, okay, every day you've got to accessorize with something because you're making this stuff, put it on. So it's just for me now.
It's just for you, yeah.
So I have a little question on a piece that I'm working on.
Okay.
This is the continuation of, let me hold it up for you, the continuation of that really 38 gauge Viking knit I did. Okay. So I decided to just kind of wire some beads onto it. And these are some vintage glass beads that are on there. My question is, I want to do a loop. What's the best way to close off that loop, Belinda, to seal it, you know, do a loop like almost a lariat closure? Is there a good way to do that? To, I guess, loop the Viking knit back onto itself? Do I wire it in? Do I?
Let me think about it. Okay. If Claudia could see me, she'd say I'm looking up to the right and going, let's see. What could we do? Could you? All right. Let me just walk through. Let's brainstorm a few things here. All right. So if this is your piece with the beads on it, or your Viking, and you need to end it, you're needing to end it in a loop.
I'd like to. If it's not practical, then I won't do it. But I'd like to.
Could you take it, and this is the loop on the lariat that we're going to use. So could you take either a pre-made loop or a loop you made yourself and take your Viking and bend it back down like something like this, and then wrap with your wire here,
Well,
if you try to make the loop out of the Viking, I think it's not going to be very.
yeah, trying to make the loop out of the Viking.
Yeah. So I would use it, I would secure it like a cord. I think I would wrap it, I would make this.
So
and
make a loop. All
make
right.
a loop, and then actually I would have hooked it, I would have made this loop that we're hooking the chain into
Yeah.
bigger. So this could have fed through it. Come back and then wrap that together with wire. So in other words, it would have gone through the loop. The loop would go through here. I would take here and just wrap coil around.
And then just wrap around.
Yeah.
Because, yeah. You think that this loop, that little loop thing won't hold really well. So if I just took this and basically wrapped and wrapped and wrapped around that, you don't think it would hold well?
No.
Okay. All right.
And I don't think it would be as neat looking as you want.
No, it looked like that is what it would end up looking like, is kind of like that.
So this kind of a thing is really easy to make. Let's look at it.
You're, yeah, I like yours. Can you make one like that for me? No,
yeah, sure. You can do that. This piece, in fact, you're going to do this.
Okay.
The controlled chaos piece, but this, I just took a, I don't even know what I used for Amanda.
Could you move your hand to the left a little bit? There, nice. Or the right? I'm not sure which way. Yeah, there you go. Nice.
Okay, so what I did is I just took whatever size I wanted, and I'm not sure what mandrel I used here, and I wrapped it around. So it started like about here. I wrapped it around once and around twice. I took the end here and just looped it so that I had something to hold my lariat piece on if I wanted, or just to get it out of the way. Took this end and just made a P-loop coming around here, and then just decided, because I wanted them to stay together, to weave. So I just did weaving here. So, and I just did a really easy structure. So I wove them both together twice, and then I did, I don't know, 5 or 6 wraps just on the outside, and then I wove them both together twice, did the 5 or 6 twice, and I just decided to do halfway. And then I just went over and hammered these so it got flat. And now that's a nice, secure loop.
And that looks really good too. It looks much more finished. So the two that are together were okay. So that you hammered them, they were not on top of each other. And I like that one very much. Okay, that's what I'll do. Thank you.